Hey y'all, I'm back with another podcast. This will be podcast number 4, looking at week 8 of the NFL. Um, so let's get into it. First, we got our week 8 recap, as always. We're looking at NFL power rankings, and then we're going to be looking at teams on the rise, teams on the decline, some NFL news, and then last week's score for predictions, our new predictions for next week, and the best matchups for next week so y'all know what to look out for. First, we're going to be looking at Falcons Panthers. Okay, so essentially the Panthers couldn't handle the Falcons passing offense. Obviously, the Falcons are not a bad 2-6 team. They've been in so many games down to the wire. This one they ended up winning. They didn't give up the fourth quarter lead this week, which was huge for them. They didn't allow the Panthers to score in the fourth, which was another big win for the Falcons. I mean, they just been a team that the first 3 quarters they win a lot of games, but in the fourth they can't win the fourth. And as we know, the fourth quarter is the most important quarter in football. They couldn't get it done. Julio had 137. I mean, when you can't stop Julio like that, it's going to be hard. And Bridgewater just couldn't put up the yards and threw an interception. I'm not sure how good Bridgewater is in the Panthers system. We saw him excel in New Orleans, but not so much in Carolina. So Falcons won that one 25-17. Next, we got the Patriots and the Bills. And what we've seen from Bill Belichick's team is that they're not the same Patriots team. Without Tom Brady, they're not the same. Um, Another talking point, both teams ran the ball very well this game. Neither quarterback played too well. Cam obviously had a lot of big mistakes, but Josh Allen didn't play that well, and the Bills still find a way to win. It really came down to the final drive. Cam Newton leads the team down the field, gets to the Buffalo 14, down by 3, fumbles at the 14. I mean, at least they could have got a field goal, tie it, send it to OT, but the Bills are going to end up winning by the skin of their teeth, 24-21, and a big win for the Bills, especially in divisional round or in the divisional. Then we had a huge upset of the week. We had Titans Bengals. Maybe not the biggest upset, but a big upset. Joe Burrow was firing on all cylinders. He's looking really good, in my opinion, at QB. The Bengals offense, I've been telling y'all, is really close to being really good. They pick up some O-line pieces. They're there. And he hit a lot of different targets. You see this. This is not a rookie quarterback that is leaning on one wide receiver, which is what we would think with AJ Green. AJ Green actually had like the fourth. He was like fourth on the chart for receiving yards. He had like 30 something, and you see guys like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd getting a lot of the catches, and it shows that Joe Burrow's spreading the football around, playing good offense, and the Titans defense just really showed they couldn't stop the Bengals for a while, and Derrick Henry is still Derrick, but whenever you're losing to the Bengals, you have to rely on Tannehill, and Tannehill just couldn't get it done this week. Derrick Henry still put up great numbers, but when you're losing, obviously they can't run the ball as much. It's a great win for Burrow, and honestly, what we learned from this is that Tannehill has to be better for the future. If this team is going to make a run to the AFC Championship or even the Super Bowl, Tannehill has to be better. It's a tough loss, losing 31-20 to the Bengals, but it's a great win for the Bengals organization. Obviously, this team is not going to be in the playoffs, but it's a team to look out for the next year and the years to come with Joe Burrow at quarterback. Next, we've got Raiders-Browns. This one was a stinky game, 16-6, only one touchdown thrown by Derek Carr, and we really saw the Cleveland offense get locked up all day. I know a lot of people were back and forth on if OBJ being out would be good for Baker or not good for Baker. I thought maybe it might be good for Baker, but obviously what we've seen, it didn't go so well. Even the Raiders blew some opportunities, but Josh Jacobs really was a key piece to their success, and he will be for the next 8 weeks. So I think what you get from this is that the Browns are going to have a hard time even with their good record, and that the Raiders are a pretty good team, and that even though they're right around the even mark, they're a team to be reckoned with, and you definitely can't just mark them off as a W. OBJ out is really tough for the Browns. We'll see if they can bounce back in the season, find some better plays to run without him, but it's going to be tough for the Browns. And that game ended 16-6. The Raiders won that. Next, we got Colts Lions. I thought this game would be a lot closer than it was, just on the fact that we've seen an inconsistent Phillip. But this week, we got a Phillip that was extremely good. See, Phillip one week can be really good and really bad the next week. This one was one of those weeks where he was really good. We saw the Colts defense, even though they let up 21, was still very, very good against the offense of the Lions. That's pretty good. The problems for the Lions in this game was definitely that the pass defense was terrible. They could only stop the run, and there was no running game for the Lions. I think the leading rusher for the Lions had like 10, 15 yards. You can't win games like that. You really can't. The Colts are definitely a underrated team in the AFC. They're looking pretty dangerous, in my opinion, with their defense. And their defense didn't even have the best showing. But if Phillip can put up 41 points and that defense plays anywhere close to its potential, this is a scary team that could definitely upset some people in the playoffs, I believe. And that one ended 41-21 Colts. Next, we had a bigger upset than the Titans-Bengals, in my opinion. We had Vikings-Packers. This was a huge upset for the Vikings. Obviously, I don't think they'll be able to turn their season around, but again, they might have used the blueprint that the Buccaneers showed everyone that you can beat Aaron Rodgers with. Mike Zimmer and his defense locked it up. They locked up Aaron Rodgers all game. Dalvin Cook really exposed the weak run defense of the Packers, which really hasn't been good. Any team that can really run the ball against the Packers have a hard time. And you got to give credit to the Vikings defense. Locking up Aaron Rodgers is no small feat. Obviously, they still scored 22, but we've seen Aaron put up 40 consistently. Okay, so this is huge. Honestly, Kirk Cousins didn't have to do much. He ran the ball, let the defense play, and they get a win, 28-22. Vikings win that one. Oh, we had the Jets-Chiefs on this one, and it's just really not fair whenever people are saying, I'm not sure if I believe the Chiefs are number one in the league, another one team in the league, but a lot of people would say this is the best team versus the worst team in the league. Obviously, it wasn't even a matchup for the Jets. Pat Mahomes put up 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's what's going to do. That's what's going to do to bad teams. The Jets didn't stand a chance, honestly, and it was just air raid football that we've seen from Andy Reid. It was classic Andy Reid Chiefs football. Pass, and they throttled the Jets all day. There's not much else to say. It's kind of tough. 35-9, Chiefs won that one. Ooh, we had a good one in this one. We had the Rams versus the Dolphins. You can say what you want about Tua. He had an okay day, not the best first start, but he didn't have to do much. That Dolphins defense and special teams deserves the win wholeheartedly, okay? And when you make Goff throw 61 times and then pick him off twice, and then with the special teams touchdown and just the defensive plays made by the Dolphins, the Dolphins had the blueprint to win this game. Dolphins, obviously, y'all know, I'm a very big fan watching this team. And I think that it's going to be super exciting next week to watch them play again. And honestly, if you're the Rams, you can't turn the ball over 4 times and win a game. Obviously, anybody sees that. 4 turnovers, you can't do it. And the Rams are going to have to find a way to bounce back from this. And also, just another player, Jakeem Grant, what a stud of a kick and punt returner. I haven't seen a guy with burners like that and kick and punt returns in a long time. He reminded me a little bit about Devin Hester running. Obviously, he's not on the same caliber, but I'm just saying he looked really, really good. It could be I'm a big fan of kick and punt returners, having really good kick and punt returners, obviously. And goddamn, he was really good. Really, really fun to watch in that game. Ooh, next we had the Saints-Bears. This was a very close game. I didn't think it was going to be as close as it was. The Bears' offense just couldn't stay on par with the Saints. Essentially, I think that's what lost them the game. It was honestly a really good game, went into OT. And both teams gave up the ball in OT. It was anybody's game. All the Bears had to do, they got the ball second. All they had to do was go score a field goal and they win. Nick Foles couldn't do it. People were calling for Trubisky at half. But I wonder how much it will take to get Trubisky back in the lineup. I think maybe one more loss gets him back in. If they skid like that, they might have to switch quarterbacks again. And the thing is, I mean, you can blame it on Foles, but also the Chicago line looked pretty bad. They gave up 5 sacks, and Foles has no time in the pocket. The only good thing on offense I saw for the Bears was probably Montgomery. He looked really good, I thought. And with Foles' questionable throws and decision making, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Trubisky come back, but it'll be definitely an interesting storyline to watch for the Bears. The Saints win this one 26-23 in OT with a game-winning field goal. Next, we had the 49ers Seahawks. I mean, the 49ers just can't catch a break, can they? I mean, Jimmy G goes out with a high ankle sprain, and that is just completely detrimental to the 49ers' success. This is coming out after I watched the Thursday Night Football game with the Niners, and we've seen that Nick Mullins can't get it done. They couldn't get the running game going, which I had told y'all before that I thought that anybody could go in, but without having Jimmy G to be able to throw the play-action pass and to fake the defense, the running game is not going to work. We saw Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. That dude, oh my God. We saw Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. That connection is crazy good. DK Metcalf had 160 yards. He's just a crazy big play threat. Russell had 4 touchdowns, had a great game. The Seahawks offense is really good. Their defense is pretty sus sometimes, but I think that they could be better in the coming weeks, especially now with the free agent signings coming in this next week. And I think that also the offense can be better once Chris Carson comes back. They don't even have their starting running back right now, and they're putting up 37 points against the Niners. I mean, can't be mad about that. 37-27, Seahawks take that one dub. Okay, now we have the Cowboys-Eagles. I mean, Cowboys games are just really sad to watch at this point. We're watching Ben DiNucci try to lead the Cowboys to wins. It's just not going to happen. I mean, Wentz threw 2 picks, and Eagles still got it done easily. Okay, the Cowboys are just a hurt team, no O-line, and it's not the same Zeke we've seen. Now I think people are definitely starting to question, was Zeke only good because of the O-line? I mean, could you have put anybody else behind that line and he would have been a stud? I mean, who knows, but it's just hard. It's hard to watch the Cowboys offense. They just struggle up and down the field. You can't expect DiNucci to do anything even in the passing game, especially with the O-line. Like, the O-line they have one of the worst O-lines in football. There's lots of hurt players, guys retired, everything like that. And right now, the only part of the team that I see is really successful is the wide receivers. The wide receiver core is still really good. You have guys like Gallup, who I think the Cowboys will probably let go of Amari Cooper, and he could be definitely a wide receiver 1 stud for the Cowboys. But they have great wide receivers, but they don't have the O-line, and they don't have the quarterback to protect that guy to throw to him. So the Eagles moved to first place in the NFC least. They're going to be definitely battling with the Washington football team. It'll be very interesting to see who wins that division, especially with that. They could win that division at, 7-8-1, I believe, the Eagles. So it's kind of crazy. Then we had Steelers, Ravens. The Steelers, to me, look like the best team in football. I think they're the most all-around team in football. The Steelers' defense was super strong, came out with a pick 6, throw Lamar Jackson off his game. This was huge for the Steelers. Lamar also had another pick later in the game. And while Dobbins had a great day and the Ravens' offense did okay, it wasn't enough to beat the Steelers. Their defense puts Big Ben in such great field position that it's so hard to beat the Steelers. Honestly, I think that's one of the biggest things that's slept on with the Steelers, that they play the field position game so well because of their defense. Ben doesn't have to go far. You run the ball a couple times with James Conner, you're in their half, and then you're looking to score. That's what they do, and they're really good at it. And the Steelers are looking up there, are at the top of the food chain for me with the Chiefs. Steelers won that one 28-24. Very exciting game. Next, we had the Chargers-Broncos, another exciting game. The Broncos stunned the Chargers with a second left. Drew Lock throws a game-winning touchdown. I mean, no matter what fan you are, I mean, obviously if you're a Chargers fan, you don't really like that, but I mean, it's just great football to watch. We love watching game winners, buzzer beaters, basically, and it's hard to watch the Chargers let up 21 in the fourth quarter, obviously, but The Chargers are a team that have been choking really hard this season, and especially when Herbert throws 2 picks. I think the Chargers are probably going to be done with their coach, Anthony Lynn, soon. The Chargers need to rebuild almost. Their defense just hasn't played as well as it should with Bosa, but I don't know. I I really like this Broncos team a little bit. I think that they are definitely a team that could get better in the next 1 or 2 years, especially with Philip Lindsay. I'm a big fan of Philip Lindsay. That's why I say most of this, because he's honestly a stud, super underrated. He puts up mad yards, crazy at avoiding tacklers. He's really fun to watch. I think the Broncos are a fun team to watch sometimes too, and the Broncos won that one 31-30. Last game of the week, we had the Buccaneers Giants Monday Night Football, which last week I said, oh, this is going to be such a boring game, trash Monday Night Football game. It's actually really, really good. I was wrong on that. It was so much closer than I expected. The Giants' run defense was great and played a lot better than I thought. They locked up the Buccaneers running backs all game. But the thing is Tom Brady's going to beat you in the fourth quarter. That's what he's done his whole career, and that's what he did to the Giants. Unfortunately, Danny Dimes can't throw picks like he did in that game, but the Giants have a lot of things to clean up, I think, with penalties and with just interceptions, turnovers, things like that. But they looked a lot stronger than I think a lot of people thought this week. I honestly want to see more from the Buccaneers as you go from beating the Packers, like blowing out the Packers, and then a couple weeks later you get the Giants and you barely beat them on Monday Night Football. I think that is something that's a problem. People are going to look and see what the Giants did to stop the Buccaneers. I think this is a win for both teams almost, as even though this is a loss, it's a win for Giants fans because they're tanking, obviously, get a good draft pick, and they've seen that. I actually do believe in Daniel Jones being a good quarterback for the Giants. So 25-23, Buccaneers won that one. So now let's take a look at the NFL power rankings here. Just came out this week. And we're going to see, obviously, start number 32. No surprise. It's going to be the Jets. They didn't do anything to move up at all. So we got the 0-8 Jets. Nothing really much else to say. They've been at the bottom the whole year. They look really trash. They're probably a team that has a chance to go 0-16 halfway through the season. So we'll see about that. But Jacksonville Jaguars, the Jaguars had a bye week this week, so maybe they can get a win this next week, but we'll see. Gardner Minshew I don't think is it, and I think that's very fair for the Jaguars to be at 31. Next, we've got at 30, they got the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I think this is mostly based off of where that team is headed, and it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to just get even like 1 or 2 more wins the rest of the season, I think. The quarterback's out for the year. Zeke isn't running like he's supposed to. O-line isn't playing well. They got a lot of problems, and the Cowboys are looking to tank. Next, we got the New York Giants at 29. I think that's pretty fair. I think it's the last one-win team. Just the NFC East is just so bad. I mean, Daniel Jones played a good game, but he doesn't have a lot of help. He doesn't have the wide receivers. Obviously doesn't have the running backs. And I think that if they could give him some weapons, I think he'd be a lot better. Next, we got number 28, the Washington football team. They stayed there, obviously, because they had a bye this week. It'll be interesting to see what they do next week. But obviously, 28, I think, is very fair for the Washington football team. Next, they have the Detroit Lions at 27. I think that's fair because they just got absolutely blown out by the Colts. The Lions have really only shown that they can beat bad teams. Obviously, they beat the Cardinals, but it's so weird watching the Lions as they go one game beating the Cardinals, locking up Kyler Murray, making him throw interceptions, and then they lose Kenny Galladay again, and they go play the Colts at home, and they get absolutely murdered. Like, it wasn't even close. So it's really tough. I think they are maybe a little bit better than 27 because above them they have teams like the Texans and the Bengals and the Panthers. But we'll see. I mean, I think the Lions are probably a little bit better than 27, but not by much. Not by much at all. Next, they got the Texans, and finally they really started moving the Texans down because they realized that it's not just them playing good teams. The Texans are just not that good. Um, the head coach is gone. The season's lost. They're not going to make the playoffs. I think this is very fair for the Houston Texans. Now at 25, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They move up 2 spots this week because of, obviously, upset win against the Titans is huge. I would love to see the Bengals go on a winning streak. I think that'd be really fun. But I think the season is lost. I think it's better for them to lose now, especially because they get some guys on defense in the next draft. They could be scary. Or O-line is like what I've been saying. They just try to outscore everyone. But I think defense is definitely the move for the Bengals. Next, they have the Carolina Panthers at 24. I think that's fair because after that, they have the Falcons at 23. I think that's pretty good. The Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater just aren't getting it done. I know they play in a very tough division, but they just have to play better, honestly, because I think the top 2 teams of the NFC South are going to make it into, which is the Buccaneers and the Saints, obviously, are going to make it into the playoffs. And I don't think the Panthers are in that talk. Same goes with the Falcons. They've blown too many games. They're at 23. They obviously move up, but I just don't see it from the Falcons coming back. Next, at 22, they have New England Patriots. And honestly, I think the Patriots could be lower. I think the Patriots could be at 24 or 23 because they have just looked like a sorry team these last couple of weeks. They haven't been able to get it done. Bill Belichick has just got to be screaming in his office. I mean, the players are just not – they're not the same players that were surrounded by Tom Brady that wanted to win championships. It doesn't seem like that. Maybe it was Tom Brady that was the key to success there, but it's really tough to see Bill Belichick struggle, especially with a talented guy like Cam, but now we're seeing maybe that he's not as good as he was before. He's not the Super Bowl caliber Cam that we've seen. Next, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at 21. As you see, all the NFC East teams are from 21 up to 32. The Eagles didn't look that bad. I mean, obviously they could play the Cowboys, really bad team, but Carson Wentz, I think, is going to find his stride later in the season. And I think this is definitely a team that could make the playoffs. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings. They went up 6 rankings this week after their win against the Packers. I think they could stir some things up if they find themselves getting back on track. But I honestly think that's like a fluke game from the Vikings. I could be wrong. I could see them go on a win streak, but I think that's a fluke game. I think that it's one of those divisional games that the Packers will lose because the Packers aren't going to go, 6-0 against their divisional opponents all year. But I think that's the one that they do lose. I just don't think that the Vikings are a team that are that scary. I think they definitely could be at 22, 21 or so. Next, we got the Chargers. See, honestly, I'd say the Vikings are better than the Chargers at this point. The Chargers are losing to the Broncos. They've lost to a lot of bad teams. And they've barely won against the teams that they have beaten. So I think the Chargers definitely are a little too high ranked there. Next, they have the Broncos at 18. I think the Broncos could be a little bit higher, honestly. Looking at the teams above them, Niners, Dolphins, I guess maybe not. This may be fair, but I mean, they have the Browns up there. I don't think the Browns are that good, so I think, I don't know. We'll see. I think the Broncos could definitely take the Browns spot, or in my opinion. The Niners are at 17. I think you could definitely put them lower, around 20, 19, 18, because they're just so hurt. If you look at where they're trending to, they're not going good places. They're just not. They're playing terrible football, and because they're all injured. And George Kittle, one of their superstar tight ends, hurt. Jimmy G, hurt. Not going to be back for a couple weeks. I think the season's just going to be too far gone for them at that point when they come back to even salvage. Next, we got at 16 the Miami Dolphins. They're finally giving them some love, bumped them up from 20 to 16. I think the Dolphins could be a little higher. Hopefully, it's possible that their hype train could get stopped this next week, but the Dolphins are looking good in my opinion. I'm excited. I want to see Tua have a great game, though. I think that this last week was really the defense playing really well. I'd love to see the Dolphins have a great win with Tua at the helm. Next, they got the Bears at 5-3. They actually moved up a spot after losing to the Saints. I think the Bears are going to skid. I don't see that this team is good enough to beat the really good teams. The Saints aren't even like a really good team at all. Like, I mean, they're good, but they're not top tier team, and they struggled. So I'm not sure if I believe in that, especially with the Browns being at 14. I mean, come on, the Browns, in my opinion, are much worse than the Bears. I think this is way too high for the Cleveland Browns. Next, they have at 13 the Las Vegas Raiders. They came off a big win against the Browns, kind of a statement game and showing that they can lock up the Cleveland Browns. I like John Gruden. I like his team. I think Josh Jacobs is the key to success. He's a great runner, really fun to watch, and 128 yards last week's win with 31 carries. He's really a workhorse back there. One of the few teams that sticks with just the one running back. Very fun team to watch. Hopefully Derek Carr can get it done. Next we got the Los Angeles Rams. They had a tough week losing to the Dolphins. I think that they didn't think that this game was going to be that hard. Goff obviously didn't have the best game, and they just missed so many opportunities. Giving the ball over in Dolphin territory is really tough, and you just can't do that against a Dolphin team that will make you pay. Tennessee Titans all the way at 11. They have skidded the last 2 weeks. Obviously, they lost to the Steelers the week before. You can't really count that. You have to take that with grace. Steelers, in my opinion, are the best team in football. I think that them losing to the Bengals, though, is really tragic. They definitely needed to come back and make sure they beat the Bengals. Didn't do that. I think 11 is very fair for them. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals. 5-2. Very interesting team. I mean, because one of their losses came from the Lions as well. You think about that. If they beat a bad team like the Lions, they could be 6-1, and I think that's a lot different team. But I like Kyler Murray. I like the coach, Kingsbury. I think they are making almost an offense a lot like the Chiefs, which is what we've seen works really well. Exciting team. They have a great matchup next week. Next, we got the Colts. They bumped up 5 spots. I think this is very fair. A lot of people, I think, had the Colts flying under the radar, not in the top tier. I think they're in that second tier of good teams right now. AFC is looking very strong. If Phillip can play like that, they could go even higher if he can play like that every week. So, next, we have the Buffalo Bills. You know, I honestly think the Colts are better than the Buffalo Bills. I would swap 9 and 8 because the Bills just barely won against the Patriots. Obviously, I know this is divisional, so it's going to be more intense, a lot more rivalry, but I just don't see the Bills really making a playoff run at this point. I mean, obviously they're going to make playoffs, but I mean, like, getting deep into the playoffs in the AFC, I don't see the Bills. I don't see the one key factor that's going to push them over the edge from these other AFC teams. Obviously, I believe the AFC is so stacked with talent that it's just going to be hard. And next, they have the Green Bay Packers at 7. Dropped them 2 spots. Even though they lost this week, I think that it's hard to beat Aaron Rodgers twice or 2 times in a row. Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose 2 times in a row a lot, so it'll be very interesting to see what he does next week. But the Vikings definitely showed that if you can run the ball well against the Packers, they have a hard time. It makes the game a lot more even. So we'll see if people use that to their advantage when playing the Packers now. The Saints moved to number 6. I think this is pretty high, especially for being a team like the Bears. Obviously, on paper, it looks good because they're beating a 5-win team, but I just don't see it from the Saints. I don't think that they have it like they used to. I think that, in the last couple of years, they've been gypped out of a lot of playoff games, and they've been gypped out of championships even, and just being able – I think that this is a team that, like, obviously with the Vikings, Stephon Diggs, miracle in Minnesota, there's a lot of times where you look back and you're like, damn, that Saints team could have won a Super Bowl. I don't think this is the year for the Saints. I don't. I would have told you the other years that I think they're contenders. I don't think the Saints are. I think this is a little too high rated for them. Ravens at 5. Obviously, they only dropped 1. They lost to the Steelers, okay? Ravens are still a very good football team, but they've lost to the Steelers and lost to the Chiefs, the 2 best teams in the league. I mean, the 2 best teams in the league, I don't think that's even debatable. They just, if they're going to want to make it to that AFC Championship, they have to beat one of them. They're going to have to find a way to beat one of them. So this is a very interesting team. I like them at 5, though. Then we have the Seattle Seahawks, 6-1. If they can improve on defense, this is a very strong team to make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC. I think that the Seahawks and the Buccaneers obviously are the 2 top teams in the NFC. But I think this Seahawks team with Russell Wilson at the helm, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. I mean, everybody's talking about DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett has been doing this for a long time. He's been doing this for years. And now Russell has another target to throw to. I mean, say less. The Seattle Seahawks offense is crazy good. Next, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 3. We watched the Bucs win really well in week 6 and 7. They barely got a win this week, but, wins are wins. I would like to see more from them, though. I think that's part of the reason they didn't move up from 3, because they barely beat the Giants. We'll see how that goes for the rest of the season, but we definitely need to see more astounding wins. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-0 at 2, and the Kansas City Chiefs at 7-1 at 1. I think they should swap those. I think the Steelers are the better team here. Obviously, Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes, but that Steelers defense, I'm a big fan of defense. I'm definitely a believer in defense wins championships. Obviously, Kansas City didn't really do that last year, right? They won a championship with offense, but the Steelers' defense is one of the best I've seen them have since Polamalu days. So I think that is a very interesting team, very good team to watch, very fun, because they play the field position game so well. So very interesting things to watch for them. Definitely the Steelers and Chiefs, definitely the top 2 teams in the league, though, in my opinion. Okay, so now I've got teams on the rise, my opinions. Number 1, I put it in all caps here, the Dolphins, okay? I'm a big believer in Tua time. I think the Dolphins are on the rise. I think they're going to have a really good shot at making the playoffs. It'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, they're not a contender, but I think the next couple years they could be. Next, we got the Colts. Colts, good defense again. Great defense. I think they're ranked top 3 or 4 in the league in defensive stats. If Phillip can play well, that's the key for them. If Phillip plays well, then the Colts will do well. But that's just the inconsistent thing is really hard. Eagles. Now we got the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to take this lead in the NFC East, and they're going to be like, okay, we got to go make some statement games. We got to go keep winning because they want to be the guys to make it into the playoffs. Obviously, I'm not sure they're going to do anything in the playoffs, but this is the team that I think will probably make the playoffs. If you asked me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I probably would have said Washington football team, but now I'm not sure. I think the Eagles are going to definitely have to play against the Washington team to do well, but I think the Eagles are looking pretty strong. Teams on the decline. We got Lions, Chargers, and Bears. Oh my. Okay, the Lions on the down. Obviously came off a 2-winning streak, but they beat 2 really bad teams. You beat the Falcons and you beat Jags. Really met their maker there against the Colts, I think, and showed that the Lions aren't a team that's going to be able to beat good teams consistently. They had the game against the Cardinals, but they're just not going to be able to do it. Chargers, it's just a really tough loss. I mean, going up, they're up 21 in the 4th and lose it with 1 second left. It's heartbreaking for Chargers fans. I feel y'all, but I think they're definitely a team on the decline to start to tank. Next, they got the Bears. But at the same time, going back, the Chargers have Justin Herbert to believe in, so I think that's good for the organization. Then the Bears. Bears skidding now, 2 losses in a row. This is a team that I could see dropping out of the playoffs. I think this Bears team is a team that I could see that if they can't figure it out at quarterback, if they can't find their guy, Foles or Trubisky, this is a team that, I think other teams will compete to take that wild card spot. So very interesting things from them. Next, we got some NFL news. Obviously, there's lots of players getting COVID nowadays, it seems. I know the biggest thing this week was probably with COVID was probably seeing that Matthew Stafford was possibly going to be out for this game, for the next week game against the Vikings. Now the reports are saying that it was him being in close contact with someone with COVID, and he's tested negative the last couple days. And if he tests negative tomorrow on Sunday, then he will be able to play in the game, which is huge for the Lions. Obviously, I don't think this is a team that's going to do much, but it could be helpful for them. Next, okay, so last week's predictions, honestly not bad. We were 9 for 13, and with the upsets, like if you don't got the upsets, I mean, obviously you have to, but upset with the Titans and the Packers, I don't think anybody called those games. I don't think anybody was like, "Oh, the Bengals are going to win," or the Vikings are going to win. The ones that I really got wrong that we can focus on is the Broncos surprised me. I thought the Chargers defense was better than they were. Obviously, they've shown they're not. And the 49ers, Jimmy G getting hurt, I called that game wrong. I thought the 49ers would beat the Seahawks, but the Seahawks showed me that they are one of the top tier teams. And with Jimmy G, the 49ers are just going to go down the drain, in my opinion. Next, we can make picks on our next week. One of my favorite parts of this podcast. I hope y'all like it. I hope y'all are along with me making picks. I want to hear y'all's picks. I want to hear you comment. Think what about my picks if you disagree. I want to hear everything about it, okay? So like, comment, subscribe. Sports House Media, bringing you a podcast every single week. Hopefully going to try to put out more videos. I'd like to know if y'all want to see different types of videos from me other than podcasts. I know that the podcasts, some people find them a little boring and stuff. So I'm looking maybe shorter clips, doing NFL news like daily or just like reports daily or something along the lines, just quicker videos, something like that. Let me know in the comments. Okay. So on Sunday, November 8th, we got football again. I mean, I love Sundays. I love football. Gotta love it. First game of the day, we got the Broncos and the Falcons. Let's go over all the 10 a.m. games here on the West Coast, 10 a.m. And let's see, we got Broncos, Falcons. This could be a very competitive game for me. And the Broncos won their 3 of their last 4. I think with the big hype that they got from beating the Chargers. This is a tough one, honestly. This is a really tough one. This is definitely a toss-up. Definitely one I could see myself losing next week. But oh, that's so close. That's so tough. I'm really having a hard time because the Broncos and the Falcons are just, I'm going to take the Falcons. I think a lot of people take the Broncos. I'm going to take the Falcons. My gut feeling was Falcons. Next, we got Seahawks, Bills. Seahawks are going to take that one. I think Josh Allen is not going to be able to keep up with Russell Wilson. Next, Ravens, Colts. This is going to be a great matchup. Do we see Lamar Jackson play like Lamar Jackson versus a Phillip Rivers? Can he be good? I'm going to take the Colts here. I'm going to take the Colts. I think their defense is going to play really well against Lamar. Next, we got a stinker, a Texans, Jaguars. I'll take the Texans there. Jaguars don't have any shot at that, in my opinion. Panthers, Chiefs. Obviously, I'm going to take the Chiefs. Lions, Vikings. Another interesting game, even though these teams are two mid to bottom tier teams. I'm going to take the Lions here. Everson Griffin coming back. Just based on that, I think Everson Griffin, AP, they got a lot to play for. From Mike Zimmer basically telling them they're not good enough anymore. So I think that'll be very interesting. Next, we got Bears, Titans. I'm going to take the Titans because I think they're the team to bounce back more than the Bears. Next, we got the Giants versus the Washington football team. I'm going to take Washington. I think they're a better team. I think they have a better defense than the Giants. And no matter what's going on at quarterback in Washington, Terry McLaurin's been tearing it up. I'm going to take Washington. Next, we got Raiders, Chargers. And, I'm going to take the Raiders. I think the Chargers are out now. Herbert could light him up and throw for 300, which we've seen Herbert do, but I think I'm going to take the Raiders here. My favorite matchup of the week, Dolphins-Cardinals. This is going to be an exciting one. 125 game. You got to tune in for this one. It's going to be great to watch Tua versus Kyler Murray. Dolphins defense versus that Cardinals offense. Man, I want to take the Dolphins so bad. I want to take them so bad. But I have to take the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to get this done. I think the Cardinals offense is just that much better. A little bit better than that Dolphins defense. I mean, I'm hoping I'm wrong because I'm really on this Dolphins bandwagon, but I'm going to take the Cardinals here. Next, we got Steelers, Cowboys. The Steelers are going to throttle the Cowboys. Let's be honest here. The Cowboys have no shot in this game. Another good one, Saints, Buccaneers, as the Sunday night game. I'm going to take the Buccaneers. I think Tom Brady versus Drew Brees. I think Tom Brady's going to win that one, especially with the Saints not having the best defense. And then on Monday night, they got the Patriots versus the Jets. It's crazy. Like they gave the Jets, so there's like 3 teams or so that didn't get any primetime games, and they said the Jets, oh yeah, we'll get you in a Monday night game versus the Patriots. I mean, they're setting up for just a Patriots like slaughter, basically. That's what they're doing. So that's all the games for next week. Obviously, they have the Rams, Bengals, and the Browns and the Eagles on bye. Not those 4 teams. Not too excited about. I do like the Bengals, but not a bad week for buys here. Finally, go over the matchups. Obviously, Ravens, Colts. That's a very interesting one. I picked the Colts, but that one, we're going to see Lamar versus Phillip, and I really want to see that Colts defense play well, especially against the running attack of the Ravens. I mean, last week we saw J.K. Dobbins go for over 100 yards. It could be any running back, it seems, for this Ravens team, so that's super exciting. Dolphins, Cardinals, obviously, I'm going to be watching that one the whole time. Going to be great football. Saints, Buccaneers is the Sunday night game. That one, I think the winner of that decides who's going to win that NFC South, in my opinion, so... Lots of good games. I want to hear y'all's thoughts about football on Sunday and on Monday. And just let me know. I want to talk football. That's what this channel is about. I want to talk to y'all. So another Sports House Media podcast. And I'll get out of here. See y'all next week.